I'm lonely and I have no friends. That's the topic I want to discuss today, and I'm just saying that I have friends, not many of them, but you know, at least they're good friends. What I'm doing is I'm just parroting what videos I man, you know, if you're in the Christian world, I think, man, not even in the Christian world, just through every social media, you're going to see videos pop up, probably, of, of people saying this: I'm alone, I have no friends, I'm 50, I never married, you know. There's gonna be a lot of those types, and I think I'll put in the title, I think I'll put in, not epidemic, it's not an epidemic, this is a pandemic. Pandemic just, I think, means that it's worldwide, that it has touched all continents, and I'm quite sure that this is the case in every continent. So if you look, I'm sure Australia, yes, Canada, the US, yes, South America, I'm sure there is, Africa, probably, Europe for certain. There are videos everywhere, but to tell you the truth, I think the most of these types of videos, and this, you know, this channel is the Heart of David, it's a biblical channel, and it's just a sign of the times. And I think I am in a perfect position to speak about this because I know the answer to this whole madness that people will go on podcasts, will go on their own videos, they'll have their own radio shows and stuff like this. And I'll say this to you, I do know the answer. I know the sole answer of why this is happening and why people fail to discuss the very root cause. I'll just say what it is. It's the internet. I'm 46 years old, almost 47. I lived in a time without the internet. I was born in the late 70s, Generation X, and I know both sides. So when I was a teenager, up to around 20 years old, we knew no internet. The internet, for the first time, Google, I remember it was one of my very last classes, even though I had to go 2 extra years just to pass things to catch up. But my graduation year was 97. It was in 97 that we were allowed to ask to go for one class to the library and to go to the internet, and people had no idea really what was coming. And so and we would go on Google and there would be people in there searching for they'd be searching for porn. You know, that this was, you're supposed to be researching for class, but that was what they were trying to do. And that shows you right away the way of the world, right? But people will do with technology. So so there it is. And if anyone argues against what I say, that it isn't the internet, you know, people say the problem is social media, the problem is legacy media, the problem is, and they're taking a whole bunch of different pieces of one thing, which is electricity that powers the internet. That is the answer. Before the internet, we had community. We didn't have what people who believe in the Bible will call Babylon. So that's what they're searching to do. They're searching to create Babylon, and it's happening by bringing everyone together, which God split apart, by the way, so we could be individualistic communities together. But do you remember a time when, and I'm sorry if you're not as old as I am and do not remember this, when maybe you were in class, or maybe you're older than me, and you just remember a community atmosphere where, you know, everyone kept their doors unlocked, people were safe, generally they were safe, and there was just a sense of community. And what happens is when you open up the world to see the romance goes away. So it's like, you know, I want to go to Europe. I live in Canada. I've never seen pictures. I've never seen. You go, you get the plane ticket, you go, right? And you go and you visit. You go, wow, this is beautiful. You come back with stories, right? Now it's like, I can see everything right here. The romance of everything has been taken away. Not only that, but pornography, right? You know this. I don't even, why do people say corn? I don't even know why they say that, man. It's called pornography. Pornography. It's what it is. And so it's like in every capacity of life, in every facet of life, the idea of not knowing certain things is now gone. We know everything. And believe me, that affects everything. That affects everything. Sorry, I'm just going to get my phone just for a quick second here. Pardon me a sec. So, I don't know what I should tell you first. So when I grew up, we did not have electronics. We didn't have all these different things. And these things distract people. And I remember growing up through high school, and yeah, it was around high school when, you know, people were wearing Walkmans. So like a Sony Walkman or whatever type of Walkman you use. And when we were in class, if you had those, it could be taken away from you. And they might keep it for a while. They'll send you to the office and stuff like that. Well, I speak to teachers. I've spoken to quite a few teachers actually. And they've said that, you know, I'm quitting within this amount of time because this is the way kids are. They have ADHD, they cannot pay attention, and they're just, where I live, they're just starting to take phone privileges away. They had phone privileges in class. Just think of how entitled that is. You're trying to teach them a lesson. The idea of the textbook is gone, and I hope they bring that back, but I can't say I know a lot about what's going on in the schools, but just give me a second. So I know that the root cause, and I'm not saying the loneliness epidemic, the people not having friends, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, finding a wife or a husband. I'm not saying that that is caused by the internet. But when you go all the way down to the bottom, and if you took away the internet, things would change. It's different. So, man, how do I say this? I'm going to get to the friends and this type of thing. Actually, let's just get to that now, because it's almost like the same thing. I don't, listen, I feel bad for people today. People who don't have friends, who never really knew what it was like to have friends, or a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They never felt romance, they never felt... They never felt a woman walk up to them and ask them out, or vice versa. They never had a group of friends. Who knows? Maybe they were bullied, and I hope not. But I think the answer is this. Get the hell out of your house. No, I'm just kidding. Really. Well, that is one of the answers, to get up and get out of your house, but I'm so glad that I was one of, and I'm not boasting in any means, I'm so glad that I am one of the last generations. I am the first generation of not knowing the internet and moving to cell phones. I saw it happen right at the end of my schooling. So around 1997, the cell phones came out, and as I've said in a lot of other videos, when I saw my friend with one, because I remember my friend's the type of person who likes to get the latest thing and stuff, and when I saw that, I'm like, there goes the end of romanticism, privacy, all those things. Because what if, hey, let's go to back in the days, let's go to a bush bash, let's go in the middle of the woods or somewhere interesting to go, and I don't want to hear that damn phone ring. And that's what's happened. People have their heads down. They walk into poles, they walk onto the street. I've even either been driving around my motorcycle where people walk across the walkway when it's not even on walk, and they'll go all the way across. That happened to me once. Someone did that, and they didn't look the entire time. Give me a sec. Or they may even have their headphones at the same time. I can't tell if this woman is studying or not. I don't know. But I have a speech disorder, just in case you can't tell. Have to let the spasms work themselves out. That's why you hear me clear my throat and doing that type of stuff. Yeah, so I leave here, and let's say I walk over to go shop or something like that for many months, and it probably still the same way. There's a woman who's walking across, who walks by me, and her head is always down, buried in whatever it is. She may be studying, and I thought, hey, she's probably studying, but she just may be so addicted to this thing that I've maybe seen her 25 or more times, and there's not one time where I saw her head up at all. I'm not embellishing that. I didn't see her head up once. I'm like, God, are you putting this person in my in my pathway for some reason? It's really, really strange. So the reason I make this video, I don't think it's helpful at all for people to make videos and say, I have no friends, I am alone. There's nothing wrong with coming on the internet and expressing that you don't, you're maybe not, you have depression, anxiety, and those types of things. But with this one in particular, when you're saying, I'm alone, there may be different variations of what people say. I feel good alone, I'm better alone. These people are hurting. Do you get it? They may look like they're, and some of them might be really doing well, but no, we don't always need friends. And there's a certain age where you realize that a good friend is a better friend, not one that will betray you, not one that will... I've had a lot of that in my life. Almost every single one of my friends did betray me, but you can still find out those who are loyal to you. These videos that you're making are just, they're making their way ups in the ranks. People are liking them and watching them because maybe they're the same. And it's not helping other people by you're normalizing it. So there certainly is a lonely, not epidemic, but pandemic. And the reason is connectivity. You take the connectivity away, people are able to think again. Suddenly you start looking around. You start imagining. That's why there's no real inventions like there used to be. I'm talking about useful ones, not computers, where everyone is vying to make the next new thing in computer technology. When's the last time you heard something like a breakthrough through insulin and stuff? And in any case, I know there are still new inventions, but I got to pace here for a sec, guys, because my abdomen, pardon me. The internet has caused people to, either I'll copy that person's behavior or this is the way I should behave. Be yourself. Figure out who you are. And you got to do some introspection on that matter. And since this is a biblical channel, I would never tell you to read scripture. That would be the first thing I would tell you to do, to find out who you really are, and that you don't need to find fake friends or people who are not good for you. I feel sorry if I have watched some videos of people who are literally crying and bawling because they've never had a friend, they've never had a lover. Some of them are very beautiful, but they don't know how. And you know what? Like, I have some of these problems myself. I have friends and I've had girlfriends in my life, and it was hard. I have autism, and that is, I think that it. I'm not using it as an excuse, but it was certainly more difficult for me. But it is important in a lot of these. We live in an individualistic society. Do you know what that is? Like I'm studying addictions counseling and in the health sciences. What did I just say? I just lost my track of mind. I don't know, maybe that will come back to me, but it happens sometimes. Yeah. What happens is when, I think that it's the internet. And the plan of the devil is to get people into one system. That's why you see a new world order forming. It's like the Tower of Babel. Go read the Tower of Babel in the Bible, in Genesis. It tells you exactly where everyone came together and they wanted to build a tower, and they all wanted to become one. And you see this happening. So all I'll say is this: learn to differentiate yourself. Do you know what that means? So we live in an individualistic society. It wasn't always that way. So picture this: there are families, right, who will not even help their brothers or their sisters if they're in need, or their parents who raised them, when they die and get disease and cancer and dementia, that they don't even want to care for them. They'd rather put them in a home. And I'm not saying that's wrong to do. There are certain spots when you do that, right? But that's what an individualistic society is. We should take care of our parents the best that we can, but our society has turned that on its head. It's everyone out for themselves. That's what it is. And so there, when you look at things like black communities, Asian communities, Mexican communities, Native communities, those are communal, not communism, but they help one another, and they don't see each other as being individualistic. Not all of them, but do you get my point? We are not the only ones who have the way, right? In the West. And I think a mix of both is good. But the internet has made people and these devices individualistic on steroids. I'm all out for myself, and you can see it in the reflection of the way women are. I'm sorry, but I see the way women are. Super entitled. I won't go further into that because I know not all of you are. But that's why men are walking away from women. You see it happening because of the way that they've set up divorce, and I won't go further into that. Men lose in all capacity. You lose the kids, you have to pay for the woman, and when you're not together anymore, you're going to pay for your life, you know? So if you're spending all day on Facebook and Snapchat and all these things, you're losing who you are. You should be out in the world figuring out what you want to do, who you are. Like I said, do some introspection, right? Figure out who you are, what troubles you, and what you can do about your life. You know, friends, good friends are what matters. And there are different personalities, you know, like I'm the type of person, like I don't like to be around someone for too long, but that's more today due to my pain. I have a lot of pain, and I prefer to be by myself. Just give me a second. But it's like a community that makes people, you know, neighbors who, you know, what is the greatest commandment? Love the Lord thy God, and you know, what is the other is to fulfillment of the laws to and I'm not saying we live by law, but I'm talking about the law of faith, is to love thy neighbor as thyself. You say, I don't love myself, but treat others as you want to be treated. And there is a lack of that, and they said that was the way it was going to look in the end days. Because lawlessness would increase, the love of many will wax cold. And you see that not just in the US, but in Canada. There's a lot of stuff happening here too. Crime on the rise, no bail. They haven't reformed it yet. They keep lying to us. And that's what's happened in the US too. And I don't know, maybe it still is in the democratic states, but you know, get arrested 30 times, you gotta kill someone, and then they're like, yo, how did this happen, right? But here, I feel bad if you don't have friends, but there are ways that you can go find real friends. Don't search for people just because you're looking for a friend. Find a real friend. What are you interested in? Go out in the community, or like find a friend in that manner. Go to church, go wherever it is where there's a community. And if you say, well, I don't even like going to those, then how are you ever going to put yourself in that position? Maybe it's at work that you meet someone. Maybe it's wherever it is, a chance walk, a chance encounter. And limit yourself on these social media sites, because they're going to destroy your soul. And stop scrolling endlessly, because what is ever going to excite you if all you're doing is scrolling and getting those dopamine hits in your mind? That's why I do not make videos, shorts, that are 2 minutes long, because I want to be able to describe what I want to describe in full and have a good conversation about it. You know, even though I was kind of mentally uncomfortable with people throughout my life. Not as much nearly today. I still had friends and was around friends, and I learned many lessons that I didn't need all those friends. What I needed was someone who was always going. Like, do you ever worry sometimes that the friends that you're around may betray you? That may not be a good sign. I had 2 friends betray me in my 40s that I never thought would ever do that to me, but they did. And I will never speak to them again. I think this happens to born-again believers a lot, to learn who, in any case, we learn lessons and stuff, but I would add this, and I gotta stop, but it's the internet. It's everything to do with social media, all of them. That's what it is. And if I see a video and I just happen to click on it, this, I'm lonely and this and that, or another video that says, how did the world get like this? I will go and I'll just put very quickly, the internet, period. That's what I'll say. I don't know why people have to go further than that. And the reason people think it's more than that is because of the butterfly effect, the ripple effect of what the internet has done, but they don't come back to the root cause. It's just like in the Bible. Why do we have to deal with this pain and misery? Well, go read Genesis. Go read where it says that there was a fall. Satan owns this world. And so I'm not telling you not to make a video saying I'm lonely and stuff, but I'm just saying it doesn't help to do that when you should be coming up with ways of how to make a friend, how to find a friend. But, and my suggestion would be, whether it's you're looking for a girlfriend or a boyfriend, look in good places. Don't look in bars. Don't look in those kinds of places. And I think that's about it. God bless, guys.